Hello, all of you. Welcome to stage number 2. And well, people may move from the networking area and the networking which has taken place right before this session, move here and or to the other stage. So I see that already some people have arrived, which is great. Therefore, I would like to start this session, and while we're still waiting for others to arrive, and I already do see some of the panelists on stage, and I do see Burkhardt, Fabian, Keller, Nihar, Patel, and I think the others should join us. There is John Blankendaal. That is great. So I'm really happy to have you here. Welcome to the session, Unlock the True Value of Data in Automotive and Mobility Industries. This is a great session. I was really looking forward to this because here a real track record has been achieved, and first data spaces are already in place. So yesterday, the whole day in the keynotes and in the discussion with Catena X and Gaia X and with politics. So we always talked about we have to build data spaces. It is now the phase to build data spaces. And in fact, there are already data spaces in place. And I think we can really learn a lot from that. And I know that in this session, we really are to witness things which are already running. And then we can use this as an inspiration to let these ecosystems grow, to learn from it, to get inspired, and to bring all these learnings to what we are doing. So yesterday we have announced Team Data Space, so that all the big initiatives on data spaces like Gaia X, IDSA, Big Data Value Association, and others team up to really craft these data spaces built on European values. And we will learn here today a lot more. I'm really happy to welcome John Blankendaal, the Managing Director of Brainport Industry. John, it's really a pleasure to see you. So we know us already for some time. Then I go in the right sequence. So the next one is Nihar Patel from Volkswagen, Executive Vice President, New Business Development. And I'm really happy and I feel honored that you are with us, because in the last year and a little bit more, the Volkswagen example was always used as a best practice for data sharing, data spaces, and this is a true and a big endeavor what you have been driving. So you are, so to say, the head of the industrial cloud within Volkswagen, which is really a trailblazing data space endeavor. So I'm really happy that you are with us. Welcome. Then we have Fabian Keller from Porsche Consulting, manager and consultant, and your slogan on LinkedIn is bridging between business, manufacturing, and IT. Well, that is exactly what we need. So it's great to have you here, Fabian. Burkhardt, project manager, supply chain management at Volkswagen. Ute, you are a strong believer in IDSA for many years. So it's good to have you here, and great to have you in the session. Then later on, we will also have Meike van Toon from Knorr-Bremse, so also in the mobility sector, and she is going to start a rail data space all over Europe, and this is really interesting, and it will be supported by MSG Systems, and Constantin Scheuermann, lead business consultant from MSG, will be with us on stage. And well, it's not me to moderate. I just want to say hello and I want to appreciate that you're with us. So it's great. It's a pleasure and an honor. And I hand over for moderation to you, John. And I talked about the rail data space. I talked about Volkswagen. And I forgot to mention the smart connected supplier network, which is one of these, so often referred to embryonic data spaces. And it is no longer an embryo, it's a baby, and it's really growing quickly. John will let us know about that. So great place here in this session. I'm looking forward to follow you, and therefore I hand over and give the stage to you, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Lars, for your welcome and introduction. That saves me a lot of work. Like you said, I'm John Blankendaal, Managing Director of Blankendaal Industries. But besides that, I'm also responsible for SCSN, a new foundation, which I will explain later. And of course, I'm member of the beautiful IDSA Association and member of Gaia-X. And in that sense, also one of the members of the Data Space Business Committee, where I'm together with another colleague from you from BMW are responsible for the data space on manufacturing and industry 4.0. Just a little bit the background that I have. Lars did already a very good job to introduce all the speakers, so I will skip that. I think that we have a beautiful lineup in this session. So I will start with Volkswagen with the first presentation that we have on the beautiful title, How ADS Meets the Volkswagen Vision. So I can hand over to the first speaker, and that's according to my list is Nihar Patel, who will start with the presentation and will follow up by his colleagues. So I give the floor to you.
And John, thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here with this audience and with our team of high caliber candidates like Fabian and Uta. For us, the industrial cloud started as a very big vision, because if you can imagine a company like Volkswagen, we have a significant number of manufacturing footprints and also a large number of supplier partners. And as we thought about the digital journey, we really wanted to be very bold and say, if you could connect everything that moves within our manufacturing and logistics and supply chain systems, what would that world look like? And we call that vision the industrial cloud. And for us, it was a place where if you were a contributor, you could contribute the most amount of IIoT industrial solutions in a particular place that a consumer, in this particular case, a business, could go and grab those solutions, grab data insights that fully would empower the automotive industry from a manufacturing supply chain standpoint. And if we had dared a little bit bigger, which we have, we think that this particular vision also works for other manufacturing industries, other process-oriented industries as well. And what does it really encompass to be in part of the industrial cloud? Next slide, please. So for us, this is almost like the mindset, like an app store, a place where you can go, as I mentioned, for ready-to-use, ready-to-access IIoT solutions. And the critical three pillars there are a community, a marketplace, and a platform. And let me address each one of those. So this only works when you have a very large audience of contributors and consumers, contributors who want to provide solutions that are ready to use, that have very clear automotive needs and wants around them, because they're out there trying to solve a particular problem or set of problems. And a bunch of consumers who want to grab those solutions and then scale them, because the real beauty comes in the scale. Let me go to the third point there, which is the platform. We've been pioneering something with our partners that we call the digital production platform. And the idea is to take that production platform, build on it for the needs of supply base, for needs of logistics, and then allow partners to place those solutions onto the platform. And this platform is open. It's an open data architecture, and it's going to follow basically all of the critical guidelines of some of the acronyms that were mentioned earlier, of Gaia-X and things like that. And we want to allow a place where this consumption and contribution can take place, and we call it the marketplace. And it's an open environment where anybody can come in, follow the critical guidelines, put their solutions on board, and then there's a transaction that takes place either through subscriptions or through one-time marketplace sort of transactions. That is a normal marketplace structure, and we're in the process right now of developing a minimum viable product that should be in the marketplace in the very near future, so that people can actually see this PowerPoint come to life. So because the proof will be when we show the pudding that's out there. And for those partners that are on the call with us today, we do have a website that's a partnered website called industrialcloudhub.com, which is on the bottom left hand of this particular document. And if you want to be a partner, if you want to go through the journey of onboarding, please go in and sign up, and our team of colleagues will connect with you and find out how we can collectively build the industrial cloud. And of course, one of the most critical areas, which is something that I'll shortly hand over to Fabian, is around supply chain. It's around logistics, and that's a very important area for us to build the flywheel around community. And there's a lot of activity going on there. And let me turn it over to Fabian and then Uta to provide you with a little bit more content.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nihar. So reviewing the IC vision from a supply chain management perspective, I think we can use the right picture as a start, where we find ourselves currently with the OEM in its network, with its first-tier suppliers and their end-tier suppliers, and also the outbound logistics to the workshops, to the after-sales market. Normally, this kind of network operates like clockwork, but it's a fragile system, and we see this currently with the chip crisis. So way back in the supply chain, chips are scarce, leading to shortages of chip-based products. And now the OEM and also the first-tier supplier, they have a lot of manual efforts to coordinate to the plans of the OEM the missing products. So, and this is an approach where currently lots of people are involved, lots of manual work is done, and you see the pain point clusters on the left side, the 7 we identified from our work within VW. And I think the most critical ones for data and data spaces are the first one, the missing transparency. So along the supply chain currently, there is no real transparency in terms of communicating inventories, communicating production plans and needs. There's a decentralized communication within the supply chain, but also within the world of VW, for example. You have the logistics communicating, you have the purchase communicating, you have the transport providers communicating, and there are a lot of missing interfaces between these participants to share common data. And to have also the last point, the conflicting master data. So what is the single point of truth? What are the, let's say, part quantities arriving at which place? So this is a lot of manual effort. So how come the IC vision and also then the IDS to life, and also to meet some of our ideas? Well, first of all, we think and we believe strongly that digitizing and networking the entire supply chain through this cloud-based and also data space approach will break up missing transparency, the decentralized communication, and the conflicting master data. So here in this picture, and later on Ute will explain it from the POC in Salzgitter, we are able now in this POC and also in this supply chain vision to communicate with our first tier and also the end tier plans, so they can easily adapt their production cycles. And on the other side, we can have a look in the inventory, which are currently in the first tier and also in the end tier suppliers, to see if we have a critical quantity of some parts. Do we have to react to a certain event? This means that we don't let's see, solve every black swan event. So everything which is not or not be which comes out. But what we can reduce is planning errors and communication errors, which are critical and also leading to these efforts. And coming to the IDS fields of action we see within the IC vision is, first of all, the end-to-end transparency. So with this kind of data space connection, we can share these end-to-end information throughout the processes. We have data sovereignty, which is a crucial part in sharing critical information like production volumes and inventories. And we have an adaptable infrastructure. So let's say a software as a solution for the IDS connector, which can be easily implemented in the legacy IT. So this is where we see the IDS is meeting our vision and meeting our goal to have a network supply chain. And for a view into the POC, I hand over to Ute.
So thank you, Fabian. Hope you can hear me since I dropped out a few seconds ago. Coming to the IDS use case, all of you, I have shown it several times in the last over the last 2 years, and you guys could follow the whole the development of the use case. Since more than 2 years, we have started the adventure with our use case with focus on demand and capacity management. It is well known to the community, I suppose, together with our project partner ThyssenKrupp, of course. Our first idea was to construct a plain demonstrator due to the velocity of the progress of the benefits and the benefits that we have recognized quite early in the project. The decision was easily made to bring it to a prototype with some month lifetime. Of course, now this prototype is in place since more than 1 year. Knowledge instrument in daily business between the partners, Volkswagen and ThyssenKrupp. What we have really internalized during that process is and achievement of data usage control mechanisms. Now we have a clear idea on what we need and how we achieve it. Normally it's a discussion, a never-ending discussion, but now it is the acknowledgement of value of equal, real-time and proper data to be, and the meaning of collaboration with suppliers at eye level in terms of business partnerships. And now it's time to come and standardized solution as reflected in the prior presentation by Nihar and Fabian to be part of the future industrial cloud picture shown before. Next slide, please. And now I'm more than happy to invite you guys, ladies and gentlemen, on our webpage, as mentioned before in the presentation of Nihar, industrialcloudhub.com. It's a page to be integrated, to step on. Follow us on Twitter, the other platforms that will be launched very soon. So challenge us, discuss with us, ask questions, send us likes and remarks, and further, let's initiate further discussions. And we really appreciate ideas on that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Fabian, Nihar, and Ute for your very good presentation and explanation how Volkswagen will implement the IDS connector in your supply chain. I have a question for you, and I don't know who will answer, but how do you involve your SME suppliers in those ambitions? What do you see over there? Because I think the chain is the strongest as the weakest link. So how do you manage your suppliers in this adventure?
I think it's probably not managing the suppliers. I think it's really working with our supply chain logistic partners to first work backwards from making sure we have the ultimate, the right set of goals and objectives, and then working backwards from there to lay out what are our capability points, what are the pain points we're trying to fix through, as Fabian and Ute mentioned, we've been working on various proof of concepts. One example was just shown here, but there are several others that are going on where we're working directly with the supply chain in not just the first tier, second, but trying to go down the chain of the end tier to really better understand how all of that connectivity occurs. Because certainly as you're with large suppliers, there's definitely active IT organization, active other mechanisms in place. And as you further go down the chain, certainly there's not always the case. So you've got to really cater to make sure that the needs and the wants are better understood, but then we can allow those partners to then still be able to access the tools that we're jointly developing with minimum pain, I guess would be the best thing. So we're still in some proof of concept mechanisms and learning, and then the learning is actually quite rapid. So we're hoping to get things out in the very near future.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, then we go to the next presentation from Knorr Bremse and MSG. With Meike van het Hoen, the team leader product management, spares and extended services, and with Dr. Constantin Scheuermann, lead business consultant. So I will invite them to the stage. So we start with Meike. So I don't know who is sharing the screen, but we're looking forward to a very nice, interesting presentation about another aspect of mobility, the railway industry.
Perfect. Thank you, John. And it's a pleasure to have you, to have us here and to have that opportunity to show you our idea on a rail data space. Just to say in the beginning, we are not as far as we just saw in the Volkswagen case, but we would really like to kickstart the idea of a rail data space. I'm Meike van Toen. I'm from Knorr Bremse in Munich. We are a first-tier supplier in the railway industry, supplying brakes, door systems, traction systems, AC systems, and together with our partner MSG, we are trying to kickstart the rail data space.
Yeah, thanks, Meike. My name is Constantin. I'm working, as Meike already mentioned, for MSG, and we are a Munich-based software and consultant company. So we are looking forward to join to share our experiences on end-to-end data journeys with you.
All right. So to give you an overall introduction into the topic, we start with that picture here. People are waiting for the train. And what we would like to show here is, or show you our vision on what if we really unlock the true value of data or the innovation potential of data, then we all can benefit from it, whether it's the industry, is the railway undertakings or railway operators, or every one of us here. We can, in our private life, we can benefit from it. So here we have just put some target groups on the slides, whether it's the fleet manager who knows exactly in which condition the train is when the train arrives at the depot, or whether it is a student who's wondering why the ticket fare is actually cheaper than last year, and so on. So this is something really our vision, and what the end-to-end data journey, what is important for the data spaces, it's all about. It's the benefit for the target groups. So in the next couple of slides, Constantin and myself, we're going to show you what we have done so far, what are the motivation and the challenges of the railway industry to build up a common rail data space. And we will also show you why we think it's a good timing to kick it off. And here I'm going to show you, or I'm going to introduce you on our specifics in the domain of railway. So we see that data is a strategic resource to have data-driven businesses, but we need to share and jointly maintain those data to have a successful business case here. We have different actors in the ecosystems. On the right side, you see it here. We have car builders, we have first-tier and second-tier suppliers, we have the operators, we have infrastructure providers, energy suppliers, and everyone has, of course, data, but also their own interest. And this is why we need to team up and to be open to share data and transparency here. And of course, how can you reach that? It's by identifying a win-win situation. Our specific challenges in the railway industry is that right now we see that there's still missing trust or lacking trust to exchange data. We have no standards and different platforms. We have not reached the critical mass yet for platforms and services. We do have many convincing use cases, but the business case and the business models are limited or not existing. And as I was already mentioning, the different stakeholders in the industry, they have different know-hows and data, and it's scattered along the value chain. But we are listening, just like this cute little boy here, putting his ear on the rail. And we have seen that things are changing, and this makes us very confident that it's time to kick off that idea of a rail data space. Specifically for the railway, we see that in many European countries, there is a liberalization of the railways and new legislations are coming into the game. And on one hand, it puts pressure on the domain, on the industry to optimize itself. But on the other hand, it gives us also freedom to do things differently. Then, of course, the impulse coming from the IDSA and the Gaia X initiative, they are providing answers on secure, fair, and sovereign data exchange. We see an increasing demand for value-adding services, but also the need to optimize the railway sector as we are competing with other transportation means. We see increasing data availability. Our rolling stock, our trains are fairly old. They have a lifetime of 40 years, but as the fleets are being renewed, then we have, of course, a lot of or more data available. And we see, of course, new technologies which we see more as enablers. And last but not least, that is a very important topic here. It's all about people. We see first companies co-innovating and sharing data.
Yeah, thanks, Meike. I think Meike made it pretty clear that we are now at I guess, and I believe at the right time, at the right place. And as all of you know, there's an IDSA reference architecture, and we see that it enables end-to-end data journeys. But we also see, on the other hand, that out of our experiences with first customers, there are more and additional aspects on end-to-end data journeys. Meike already mentioned in the beginning, on the business side, sure, you have to know who's your target group or who are your target groups. You need to know which data assets you're dealing with and where they're located in your subsystems. The business case needs to be well-defined, also the use cases within, and there needs to be a clear win-win situation. These points on the left side, they seem to be trivial, but they aren't. The technology is one thing. It's a opener to get and to kickstart this end-to-end data journeys, but these other points on the left side are also very important if you're talking about end-to-end data journeys. On the right side, you also have to consider some technological aspects. For example, security guidelines. If you connect different stakeholders together, also with the IDSA technologies, you have to consider what security guidelines they have on their premises. Also, you have to consider the cloud strategies and migration strategies that can also, in different maturity levels, if you're talking to different companies. The IT governance is also a part that you should consider. And for sure, if you're talking about service and new business models and new service models, you have to also consider this kind of aspects concerning the services. So we are doing this now a bit more than for 1 year. And we are proud to say that we could achieve our first end-to-end data journey. It's in progress. It's together with SAP, which we are really happy that we could work together with our colleagues from SAP, and we are working together with a big Swiss operator. And together we are trying to establish this sovereign data exchange, and we are on a pretty good track right now. And yeah, how do we start now? Meike was talking about rail data space, and we want to follow and continue to follow an open door policy. So we are asking you to join us, and how we thought about how can we kickstart it. And we are planning 2 workshops that are following our 5D model. We will talk about it later at 2:25. We will talk about it and introduce the 5D model in more detail. But we want to offer you 2 simple steps in the beginning. One is the discover phase planned for September, and the second one is the define phase planned for October. In the discover phase, we would like to share information with experts from the domain and with the support of IDSA, that we want to share information about Gaia X and IDSA, that we have a common understanding on the technology. Something very important, as the knowledge, the level of knowledge is very heterogeneous as from our experience. So we want to form a common base of knowledge in the first place. We would like to introduce you to our process and how we could kickstart a rail data space. And we are also open for your suggestions. Yeah, remember, it's an open door policy. We would like to introduce clear goals and advantages you could have and you could benefit from, as we are focusing on clear win-win situations. And we will sure give a sneak preview on our next steps. And the next step is actually the define phase. It's planned for October. It will be a workshop that we are moderating, and the goal is that we identify data matches. This is what we have done also with our first end-to-end data journey. So what do you bring? You bring your data demands and your data supplies, so your needs and actually things you can provide. And everybody that is participating in this workshop does the same. And then we can identify data matches. Based on these data matches, we then define the end-to-end data journeys and hope that we can further kickstart additional end-to-end data journeys and form a rail data space. So to sum it up, Meike, do you want to say some additional things and how we can kickstart?
Yes, thanks, Constantin. Well, to sum it up, we invite you to be part of the rail data space, especially if you come from the industry. We have been reaching out to different railway-specific associations and partners and customers. Invite them to the 2 workshops Constantin just explained. But feel free also to drop us a line and to get in touch with us. We are also reaching out to, for example, initiatives like Datenraum Mobilität, as railway is part of mobility. And we are just trying to get people on board, getting them enthusiastic about the idea, interconnecting the stakeholders. And Knorr-Bremse and MSG are really looking forward to discussing it. As Ute was also saying, challenge us as well. It is a good cause here to kick off or to get started in the railway as well. And I would like to take the opportunity also to thank IDSA, International Data Space Association, for their effort here to help us kickstarting that rail data space as well. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and we hand over to John.
Thank you, Meike and Constantin, for your invitation to co-create with you a data space for the railway. I think it's a very good example how you include your customers, your suppliers in such a journey that you are facing. You mentioned in your presentation also the maturity level of your partners. How do you judge them? Are they mature enough to co-create with you in the coming period?
Meike, if you
Yeah,
maybe
I'm going to answer it. It really depends. We do have very mature customers or partners. We have also some smaller companies, maybe 10 people companies who are not really mature enough yet. But I'm sure there are also ways to help them.
maybe I would like to add something. The important thing is to start. And on the other hand, if you have a quite mature company, there's also a risk that you get into analysis paralysis, that you analyze a lot of things and you don't start. So also following our model, we do small steps. Also with we have our goal, like the end-to-end journey, but we do small steps, learn, as also the speakers before said. We learn from it, and then we try to make the end-to-end journey happen. So don't be afraid, even if you're not that mature yet. Maybe you are. Just get started. That's important.
And just to one last comment, there is a top-down approach from a European initiative. There are a lot of funding projects which are going into that direction. But on the other hand, we are also trying to be very pragmatic, bottom up, do these little baby steps, and so I'm pretty confident that it will fly. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I'm also confident about the approach that you are following. So all the best for that. So then I have to moderate myself a little bit because I have to announce myself as the next speaker. So I will share my screen and go to my presentation. So if everyone, is there anybody who can confirm that you see the screen, that it will be helpful? Well, like I said, my name is John Blankendaal. I'm the Managing Director of Brainport Industries, and I will explain to you what we are doing and how we are looking at the IDS combination which we have with the Smart Connected Supply Network. Well, to be honest, Brainport Industries is a cooperative and network organization, not directly working in the mobility or the automotive sector. We are more focused on high mix, low volume, high complexity supply chain. So we are active in the semiconductor market. For example, at ASML, Carl Zeiss, Trumpf. We are working in the medical market, Philips, for example, Siemens, the analytical, big electron microscopes, the printing industry, also for the graphical industry, but also additive manufacturing, 3D printing from metals, ceramics, polymers, and other kinds of materials. And we are more involved in the energy systems like electrolyzers, but also PV systems, PV equipment. So we are more in the capital goods for the high-tech industry, which connects the high mix, low volume, and high complexity. So as Brainport Industries, we are working with more than 100 high-tech companies, and we are connecting first, second, and third-tier suppliers to help our customers where they can improve in research and development and marketing, sales and services, because they are looking at more increasing complexity in their equipment, more and more components, more data involved. So they see their increasement of the R&D expenditure. Marketing, sales and services is of course very important because they have to deal with international global competition. So innovation is coming more and more from suppliers from the value network. So Brainport Industries is offering that open supply network with the necessary steps, the processes to help to come up with a very good supply network. In the Netherlands, we call Industry 4.0 also Smart Industry. So within Smart Industry, we defined 8 transformations to help the companies to grow in the market, to grow in Industry 4.0. So we have flexible manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, smart working, sustainable factories, smart products, servitization, digital factories, and I think for now the relevant transformation are the connected factories. So the connected factory is one of the 8 industry transformations where safe and secure data sharing in the manufacturing supply chain is the main focus. One of the field labs is called the Smart Connected Supply Network, and we aim to achieve this. So we started a couple of years ago as a project. So we were in that sense a startup company, and now we are scaling up this initiative. So our challenge is sharing data in supply chains, because when you want to work as a supply chain, as a supply network, then it's very important to collaborate, because the connection makes the value for the OEM customer. And especially this is relevant for the high mix, low volume, high complexity industry, where we see the increasing complexity growing. And sharing data is there crucial. So, but the problem, and already the previous speaker mentioned the different challenges and problems, we have to deal with different systems, different standards and semantics. Every OEM company applies its own standard and confronts the supply chain with their own methods and procedures. So as a supplier, then we have to adopt all those different systems. So, and then that causes, of course, error-prone administrative work, inefficiency, slower time to market, and when you want to cooperate, you need to reduce the failure and the transaction costs in the supply chain. So we started, like I said, with our SCSN, the Smart Connected Supply Network, based on the PLM systems. So create a platform, a handshake for information exchange to increase the productivity in the supply networks. So by developing a data standard, by stimulating information exchange, but also create therefore higher productivity in the supply chain, because we are reducing the failure and the transaction cost. This was launched at the Hanover Fair in 2016 already, where we really created the startup together with our Prime Minister Mark Rutte and other partners from our network. Nowadays we are not a startup anymore, but we are really in the phase of a scale-up. So we are connecting manufacturing companies, the IT service providers like the ERP, PLM, the cloud providers, and sector organizations are combining their strengths to address those challenges. So where the traditional ADE approaches will not scale, centralized cloud solutions have their own drawbacks to limited data sovereignty, and a winner-takes-all platform business models that are not suitable for us, because we want to achieve a 20% improvement in productivity. We want to speed up our time to market, and therefore also to speed up our time to money, and to create a more resilient and agile supply network, because also the previous speaker mentioned the lack of chips. I think that with appropriate use of the data systems, we can really avoid and give good information about the need for certain components in the supply networks. So what we would want to do, connect once, communicate with every other organization, control data sharing, where the manufacturing companies are in control, and then is of course our next phase to create really a standard adoption. So how does this work in practice? Together with SCSN, we applied the IDSA connector. We are working together in different projects. We set up the digital platform, interconnected using IDS, an independent address book for routing communications, also in that sense, trustworthy exchange of information with several providers, and it is up to the manufacturing company to choose the most suitable for the business. And manufacturing companies have the opportunity for one-time integration with their own EEP system. They can register it in the SCSN address book, and the EEP systems, they are still in business because they can work together with their manufacturing company and where their solution suits the best to the processes within manufacturing. But it's not only a modular factory within one company, it's also connected factory across the value chain. So we want to have really a connected factories, because the combination can offer the complete solution for our OEM customers. So using the asset administration shell to connect all the machines and the equipment, also applying the RAMI 4.0 model in our digital factory. So together with all those connectivity, we really can create a distributed manufacturing, distributed factory. Of course, we do it also within Gaia X, and to set up the data infrastructure that is needed to do so. So at the moment, we are with 10 service providers. We are with more than 300 manufacturing companies. We will grow to 2,000 in the coming years. That we really want to, that it could be a standard. We did also European projects like Eureka, Market 4.0. We're working with ISTOS, My Open Factory, and are involved in that project. So really to create a standard. Due to the time, like I said, I have to moderate myself a little bit. So these are the key ingredients: collaboration with customers and suppliers, collaborative design and engineering, modular manufacturing, a flexible production environment, error-free manufacturing, and based on the building blocks like smart production equipment, asset administration shells, data sovereignty, but also a secure, transparent, and trusted surrounding. So this is our ambition: connect once and communicate with the complete supply chain, where the manufacturing companies are in control. So SCSN is a communication standard for sharing information in the supply chain, where we have the ambition to increase 20% increased productivity, where we are focusing on high mix, low volume, high complexity manufacturing. Well, this was my presentation for you, so I thank you very much for your attention. So I will look at the questions and see if Lars also, as the co-host, is coming back. So there is room for questions at this time. I'm looking at the chat. There are no questions at the moment. Perhaps Lars is all there, the co-host. So I give the floor to you to wrap it up and play some closing remarks. But from my point of view, I want to thank all the speakers. I think also in the preparation, we had some very good context and discussions about the need of data, the opportunities that data can offer. And really, I think that we were able to unlock the true value of data in automotive and mobility services. So Lars, the floor is to you.
Yeah, thanks, John, for guiding us through these really inspiring endeavors. So data spaces, embryonic ones, adolescent ones, and vision. So it was great to see that. I'm really impressed of the maturity grade of what I've seen. And I'm really happy that all of you reflected on the future, on the next steps, and that you have concrete plans. And I mentioned it yesterday, it's not only the concrete plans, but also you all have numbers in your presentation. So concerning growth, growth goals. And that is, for me, it's a difference towards, compared to last year. Last year, I heard a lot of visions on data spaces, and now I see clear plans and clear goals. That is good to see. And I'm really happy to drive this further. I also feel that we really managed to spread the idea to a larger network of suppliers of components and technology, and also users. So John, with what you are doing, this is a trailblazer activity to really intrigue a lot of people. And on the other hand side, for example, the Volkswagen case, well, this is really, so we have success with IDSA if it really arrives in big industry and becomes part of their value chains. And that is what Ute and the colleagues are really driving. So impressive. And I hope that we tell this story in the rail domain. So Meike van Teun, it's so great to see that we are making progress, and that we are on a joint path. I'm looking forward to go this. So Thanks a lot for the presentations, John. Well, it sounds good. So we started we got to know each other some years ago, and well, I did not expect that we end up like this. So it's really, really great. So I don't know what your reflection is.
Well, I think that's when we, yes, what you said, we started a couple of years ago, and we met each other in Antwerpen, but also a couple of times at the Hannover Fair. We demonstrated some of our solutions over there, but it was really a demonstration. And now we are also growing and maturing, and I'm very impressed what I see, and that really the industry is implementing those solutions in the daily business. Of course, we are not at the end of our roadmap. We are not at the end. So I think that the start is very good. The progress is impressive. So I'm looking forward to cooperate with you, with the HiX Foundation, with the IDSA, and of course with the cross-border cooperation, which is increasingly growing in the last year. So looking forward to put this also on a European level. So yeah, well, thank you.
Thank you, John. A great pleasure.